Welcome to News with a View, a Fat Cat production, hosted by John A. Costa, Fat Cat. This is July 14th, 2025. This is episode 103. I'm going to edit this piece into a program I just did because I really messed it up. And today, we're going to have former CNN commentators say gut feeling Trump and the Republicans cheated in 2024 and will rig the 2026 election. Second item will be Biden hits back at Trump, GOP over auto pen criticism. They're liars, and that's from The Hill. The other show with Angela Reay and Tiffany Cross was a Native Land Pod. That was their podcast where they said this thing. Trump risks losing supporters over the Epstein list fallout. So we got 3 or 4 things that we're going to discuss, and welcome to the show. This is going to edit and segue right into me still talking. CNN commentator has gut feeling Trump Republicans cheated in 2024 and will rig the 2026 midterm elections. Now, this is former CNN commentator Angela Reay, also with Tiffany Cross in their own little Native Land podcast, who made this revelation on Friday during their podcast. And she had, Angela Reay had said, I think me and Tiffany Cross really might feel a way about telling y'all how many days are left till the midterm, because I don't really know this thing's going to damn happen. I'm reading it verbatim. She added, even if they're going to happen, they're going to cheat like they did. I still feel like that they did. In 2024 election, I don't have the data. I got a gut feeling, but I'm going to tell you about the black woman and the Holy Ghost. We be spot on. Now, she's got to be smoking crack. That's what I believe. You got a problem with that? If we were told the elections were fair by the Democrats, right, in 2024 and 2020, why is she saying that it wasn't? Why is she saying that that this is not the case? How is she lying? Is she saying that the Democrats lied about the honesty and integrity of the election? Because that's how I would see it. Though she's saying she doesn't have any proof of any of this happening. She just feels that Donald Trump winning had to have been a fraud against the voters. And Angela Reay argued that the Republicans may cheat like they did in 2024 again. She agreed with Reay. However, she didn't see a point in looking forward to the midterm elections. This was Tiffany Cross who said she agreed, but what is done is done. And she had said that, you know, there's no backsies, you know, so, but she did continue. Tiffany Cross did. So why we think all of a sudden we're going to have a free and fair elections in this country for midterms, which we really never had. So we've never had free and fair elections, right? When Obama was elected, that wasn't free or fair. And which we never really had, as black folks know all too well. Obama, 2 terms. No one fact checks these 2 women. No one is saying, or they don't look to see, hey, have we ever had a black president before? No, I can't find one. I mean, these 2 women have to be the stupidest women who have a podcast. And I've seen some pretty bad podcasts out there. I mean, this might not be A1, but my facts are correct. You might not like my opinions, which is fine. You know, enjoy my family with that. But when I see this, I just think that, you know, they're not factual. And how can you have an opinion if you can't back that opinion up with facts? You know, it is the stupidest, most ignorant, and rates up there as being horribly racist. To say that the blacks never had a voice in the last election or in the elections. They certainly have. Just look at the mayors and governors. They've had black mayors. They've had black female mayors. We have women governors. This is just so racist. And yet, no one calls them out on it. No one calls them out on it. So, why we think all of a sudden we're going to have free and fair elections in this country for midterms, which we've never really had, as black folks know all too well, and women know all too well. But we think that in 480 days we're going to have that. I don't think so. Now, I know she does not speak for every Democrat. And I know she does not speak for every black person. But I'll tell you right now, it's that type of rhetoric that cost you the election in 2024. That type of craziness, that type of extremism, that cost you an election. Other far-left commentators have cast doubt over whether the 2026 midterm elections will be fair. Over the last few weeks, several liberal commentators ranging from former MSNBC host Joy Reid to Democratic advisor James Carville. Now, they always say former Democratic advisor. But now they're saying he's Democratic. I want to know what Democrat that he's advising. Tell me a Democrat that's being paid, that's paying Carville for his information. I'm going to take a wild stab and say none. He gets paid for commentary pieces. He gets paid for opinion pieces. And that's okay. That's fine. I have no problem. He can have his opinion. He could be paid by whoever. But I don't think any Democrats are paying him as a personal strategist. And, of course, advisor James Carville to podcast host Charlemagne the God have suggested the 2026 midterms will be rigged. Whenever Democrats say to me, this is the reason we have to coalesce for 2026, I always add to the end of their sentence, and yeah, assuming we actually have a free and fair elections, Reed said on the far left writer, I don't even know, Ali's, Watch a Hat, Ali's Substack. I think it's insane, honestly, to just assume we're going to have normal elections next year. What do they know? Does she know? It is the rhetoric of the left, and I guarantee you she doesn't have more than a handful of, viewers watching her. And probably does a show just as bad as I do. So, the rhetoric of the left, and this is the left, is what is going to drive away more of the base Democratic supporters. You are not going to get the money that you had gotten with Biden and Harris. You are not going to have the type of media coverage. You are not going to have the exposure. I think that people like Reed and people like these individuals, Carville, they're just not going to be listened to. And when you hear them now, it's just like, oh, that again. It's like, impeach, impeach, impeach Trump, impeach, impeach, impeach. And people go, we've heard that. It's like skipping on a record. And when that happens, I'm just going to play over that song. And, I'm not going to do that. President Trump, I'll get back to you in a couple of minutes. The idea that they're going to sway Republicans, that there's going to be a mass exodus of MAGA. No. We didn't vote for Donald Trump to release Epstein, whatever records they have. I mean, it made for fun topics. It made for interesting debates and everything else. But it truly is a meaningless event. Is it going to change anyone's lives? Well, maybe the people that might be on the list. And I think, again, now this is segueing into Epstein. Time had said that Trump risks losing supporters over Epstein fallout. I don't see that happening. I don't see people going, I'm not going to vote for Trump now. I think there might be other reasons why people would not vote for Trump. But Epstein's not going to be one of them. The idea that this is a hinge or a trap door that now opens up and, Trump falls through. Not going to happen. People on X and stuff, they're I'm tired of Trump. I don't know what they do. I don't even know if those are their real names. I don't even know if they even vote. So, you're telling us how you feel? Good, have at it. You're meaningless. I'm irrelevant in getting you to change your vote. And I'm not here to change anyone's vote, except you, Bob, in New York. Not here for that. I'm here to discuss what the right says compared to what the left says, and the left against the right, and the right against the left, and make sense of it. And point out the flaws with each one of them. And I have done that. If you watch my programming, you know I do that. Now, it seems, as some people pointed out to me, that I don't give a critique on the right when I critique the left. Because the right side information is already out there, and I will critique the left side's factuality and then the opinion to say, no, that doesn't make any sense. And, saying Trump's budget, it's cruel. It's cruel. Yeah. Yeah, it's cruel. And because you feel it's cruel, we should allow fraud and everything else that's been going on in Medicaid, in FEMA, in Social Security. Because if we stop the fraud, then it's cruel. Right? You see how that works? Now, I've said this, and if you go back and look through every one of my episodes, I say I am not locked in step with Trump. I didn't disagree with everything that Biden did or what Obama did. Because common sense rules the day. And that's the only way this can happen. We got to have common sense. You don't have common sense, what do you got? What do you got? And if you're not going to use facts, or, I get, hey, they did this, this, and this. No, I don't, because you say so. Well, they couldn't get the information because the guy took the fifth. You're allowed to take the fifth. Doesn't stop the government from going in there and saying, yeah, okay, but this is the information we have. This is the proof we have. and putting that forward into a criminal trial. So again, I will go and use facts. I will look things up. I explore the Constitution. I even go back and look at the intent of that constitutional amendment. When it was written, who wrote it? Was there any speeches given on the floor giving yay or nay spins to it? But when an amendment gets passed, I'll only look at the yay side, because that's the side that was able to convince everyone else to vote for it. So that makes the most common sense. Right? Anyone disagree with that? I mean, you can, but wouldn't be saying too much about you. So Trump responded to a reporter as incredulously responded after a reporter asked about a memo the Justice Department released earlier this month that asserted as much anticipated client lists did not exist and there'd be no more disclosures related to the case. Now, here's my flip side to this. This information wasn't released by the Democrats, and they never promised to release that information. So that's, to me, not a big deal on the part of the Democrats. When Biden was in office, he could have released this information, but never said he would. Never said he would. Now, if there is no client list, and if there is nothing, boom, 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 and boom, 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 why are they keeping Maxwell? Why is she still in jail? Right? Why is she still in jail? If there's nothing, and all he had done, I say all he had done, is all he had done was looked at child porn in a different country. And I don't even know if he did that. You know, I'm just going off the reports that, you know, and if, you know, and everyone's saying his little black book was used to blackmail people and to do stuff. I don't know. But both sides have said that this was not a factor. So, you know, this was not a factor. That there was no black book, there was no no one being blackmailed, and the only thing that he might have done is, you know, was done not in this country but somewhere else. Well, why wasn't he brought up on charges in those countries? Why all of a sudden now they go, we didn't have anything on him? Well, you had him locked up in a prison, well, a detention center, and you have you know, Maxwell in, you know, found guilty. What did they find her guilty of? How could they have used that evidence? So we know what evidence has been out there. And there was no list. But my personal belief, mind you, and I've said it before on this thing with the list, and they go, there's no list. Of course there was a list. This guy was a financier. He was a procurer. He brought people together that normally could not meet, but he got them together on Fantasy Island there. It was, I'll get you, what do you need? 500,000 guns? I know that someone who has 500,000 guns. Be more than happy to sell them to you. But he can't go over to your country and you can't go over to his country. So you come over to my place. Put you together. And let's see what happens. I'm not asking for anything up front. I'm taking off the back. So I'm going to take, you're going to give me a commission, and that guy's going to give me a commission. And in the meantime, you enjoy my house, my parties, my liquor, and whatever you guys discuss, that's between you two. And that's what he was. And he worked for the CIA. He worked for the MI5, MI6. He worked for French intelligence. He worked for Mossad. He worked for the KGB. He worked for the Chinese intelligence. He worked for them all. And he had the goods on them all. But he didn't have to blackmail. That wasn't his trademark. Because if he blackmailed, he'd never get another customer. That would get around that community real quick. It just wouldn't happen. You'd start blackmailing some of these people, it'd just be easy to put a bullet in your head and just end it. And he might have said, hey, listen, if I get struck by lightning, I'm going to blame you. And everything gets released. Yeah, that might be. I'll take my chances with that. Because the next person I'd go to is Maxwell. And say, do you want to release that? You know anything about it? Because now is your time to tell me you will not release any information. I don't care if you have it or not. You're not going to release it, right? Because before I go down, you go down. You were dealing with people that you just would never do that with. And I would say a lot of people that might be on that list, they had to be very careful with, because they were big donors. They were very big donors. And they didn't want to have that dry up. So both parties looked the other way. Because if you didn't think the Democrats were getting money and the Republicans were getting money, you don't know how the system's played. One might have gotten a little bit more, but everyone got a taste at that trough. And when I was running the show, then I got more of the trough. When you were running the show, you got to the trough first. You wait till your heart's content. All right, you have what's ever left. And that's the way this works. They were told by people inside the government, told the president, told the RNC and DNC people, this stuff gets out. All our phony baloney jobs. So you know what you're going to do, Mr. President? You're not going to release it. Let the next guy make that promise. But right now, yeah. Because the names on that list, on both sides of the aisle, will be disastrous. For them, for us, for the whole ball of wax. So Trump will go back to the 2020 election was rigged. The left will go back to the 2024 election was rigged. And all this was always, because Trump had the same information in 2019, in 2017. Obama had information on Epstein, and then, of course, then he got arrested and things happened. But everyone knew the devil. They knew. Now Trump knows. More, maybe. And Trump isn't one to be told, no, you can't do it. There was something on this stuff that even scared Trump. There was something here. Don't go down that road. You take your lumps for saying you'd release it. Now your crowd, or some of your crowd, is screaming, and most of it is the liberal media who's screaming it, because that's all the liberals got. All the liberals got is Epstein. So they'll keep pounding away. You said, well, you know what? Biden said he was going to, all the school loans would be wiped out. That didn't happen. Did he try? Sure he tried. Did it work? No. Hey, politicians lie? Oh my. So this is all baloney. All baloney, folks. It's a magician act, while the other hand is doing the work. Look, and you don't see the other hand. And the liberal media think this is going to divide the Republicans. It won't. This is like seeing if the World Weekly, remember that magazine with Bat Boy? Bald-headed and had the fangs, and he was a Bat Boy, and he was with President Clinton all the time. It's like saying, we have the Bat Boy. We're gonna show you the Bat Boy. Where I do have the problem with Trump show me the election was the 2020 election was stolen. That's the one I say, to me, is important. Because that would prove then that elections could be rigged by either party. Not just the Democrats, but by either party. Anyone. Can you show it? I'd like to see it. More than I would care what took place on Epstein's Island. You know, to me, it's much to do about nothing. And Trump is saying it's a distraction. Well, it's a distraction because you made it a distraction. So, all right, I want to talk on that for about 20 minutes, that and the other guy and the other thing. I think got 38 minutes, but about 5 minutes of that was the my screen, you know, my slide. Okay. The auto pen. Biden hits back at Trump, the GOP, over auto pen criticism. And this is an article from The Hill, which, again, I'm never a big fan of any of that. And Biden said, they're liars. Liars. Former President Biden sounded off at Trump and the Republicans in Congress over the claim that aides acted without Biden's knowledge in granting presidential pardons and clemency with the use of an auto pen. Now, I don't know how the auto pen works. Honestly, I don't. Oh, but I would assume that to be granted permission to use the auto pen, it would be at least a two-party consent. Like, you know, you go and get your Gmail, and if you have a two-part authorization, you put your password into it, and then it says, boom, go to your phone now and tell me it's you. Well, I would think that this had to work the same way. Someone just couldn't say, you know, I'm going to type up all these pardons and auto pen, you know, yes, 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 yes. Because he had 1,500 pardons in his, last couple of hours. Or at least in the last week. But even 1,500 pardons, to say he was aware of them all, even if it took 3 minutes per pardon, there's not enough time. Unless they said, we 6 months ago is when we decided to do this, and when he was leaving, he would just push the button. Then show it. Have people come up and say, hey, here's the presidential schedule. This is who we met today. This is what he did. We can't tell you how he did it or, blah, 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 but he met with this person, he met with this person, he met with this person. Those people were the pardon committee. And he might have said, hey, give me a list. This is my criteria. If it meets the criteria, and I give you the authorization to tell me whether or not yay or nay. Here's the, give me your list. You think Trump knew every person he gave a pardon to? Someone had to bring it to him and go, hey, this guy here, this guy there, or, he's not going to know it. Why would Biden know it? So he had people. And he told them, hey, this is, and this is how I want it done. And, hey, did you do it? Because it's nap time for me. Yeah, if that's what it is, I authorize you to use the auto pen and, give me a list, I'll read it. Or I'll give me the list first, and I'll tell you in the morning whether or not. And so he could say, I knew everyone, I agreed with every one of those things, which is a lie. He didn't. He didn't. So Biden said they're liars, and they know it. In a New York Times interview published Sunday, asked about claims he was incapacitated near the end of his presidency and unaware of decisions being made on his behalf. I made every single one of those decisions about clemency, he added. Clemency. And he said, the auto pen is, legal. As you know, other presidents used it, including Trump. But the point is that, we're talking about a whole lot of people, he said. And Biden turned around. Let me be clear. I made the decisions during my presidency. I made the decisions about the pardons, executive orders, legislation, and proclamations. Any suggestions that I didn't is ridiculous and false, he said. So Biden is saying that he knew and agreed with everything that was done with the auto pen. And honestly, what does that mean to any of us? Really, what does that mean to any of us? Doesn't mean anything. It can't be changed. And this committee to look at Biden's mental, cognizant abilities when he was president, unless there was a doctor inside the White House, Bethesda, Maryland, or something, that had told someone, hey, the president, he's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And he needs to be observed, and maybe we need to take a look at him a little bit longer. But he shouldn't be driving a car. He shouldn't be signing legal documents. If a doctor had stated that, in his professional opinion, or whatever, then I would say they got something to hang their hat on. But if no doctor said that, and no one said that in his cabinet, no one said that anywhere along the line, and even if they did, even if they said, hey, the press secretary, Jen Psaki, or whatever her name is, said that, hey, this guy told me the same thing 14 times over. Is everything all right with them? Anything, do I have to handle him in a different way than I normally handled him? Is there something wrong? And if she did do that and she got an answer back, no, everything is good. And again, if someone went, well, didn't you think you should? No, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a doctor to make that call. I couldn't tell you if there was, I didn't know what medications he was taking, if any. I didn't know what was going on. I was just, spoke to him and I said, hey, he seems a little off. And that's it. There was no one there to fix it or do anything, and so I don't like when they do that. I'm not a big fan. You know, did we all see that Biden was really off his game? Sure. 2 years before the election, we saw it. People saw it before he was elected president. That, he saw it when they asked him to run instead of Hillary. And he said, I can't do it. He saw it. But it was never, no doctor had ever said it. The White House, maybe if the doctor ever comes out and says, hey, I told them hey, this guy shouldn't, I got to sleep at night. His finger's on the button. I don't know. I asked him what day it was today, and he said vanilla. Yeah. And they might have told him, hey, you took an agreement here that you wouldn't, this stays here. And no one talked about the 25th Amendment unless they could prove that, hey, we went to Pelosi, we went to Schumer, we went to some members of the staff, the cabinet, and said, hey, we might have a problem here. And, if this gets worse, we can't put a lid on it. There are already people talking. There's already screaming and yelling, and if they could prove that, then yeah, maybe he shouldn't have been signing stuff. Maybe, those pardons are questionable. I don't think they would be. I think the pardons would hold up in a court of law because no one ever exercised the 25th Amendment at the time. And that's it. It's done. It's over. Stop. You're beating a dead horse. If you want to beat the dead horse while screaming that the horse was lazy its whole life, and, yeah, go ahead. I don't know who's going to listen to you. And if you say the same thing, Trump, Biden, this is what we said, but we can't trust the Democrats. Well, you've been saying you can't trust the Democrats before we knew all this. Not going to change my opinion of it. So, all right, that's all I'm reporting today. I might try to do a show tonight. I don't know. Tonight is Monday, and that is Socrates Station. Socrates Station is a nice little local restaurant bar in Socrates, South Carolina. Just minutes away from beautiful downtown Murrells Inlet and Myrtle Beach. So, great place to go, great food, great drinks, great people. Have a fun time there. Sometimes too much fun, and when I have too much fun, I take an Uber home. And I make my poor daughter-in-law drive me the next day to pick my car up. But it hasn't happened often, but enough to know I ain't driving. I'll do my one drink in 4 hours. Drink Coke. Call it a night. The wife's not driving. It's me that's driving. But with that, I said it was, that's going to be tonight. And usually I get back about 9 o'clock. And hey, I'm an oldster. Plus, the last couple of days I've been working on a car in the driveway. 102 with the heat index here. And the fat guy, it's getting tougher. It's getting tougher. I got to raise the car up higher. I got to grunt more. I need something to pull my carcass up. Yeah, days of working on cars quickly coming to an end. But I'll always work on cars. I don't say I fix them. I just say I work on them. All right, with that, as I always say, give to a charity, give to a church, wherever you worship, whatever you're comfortable with. Just make sure if you give it to a charity, it's a bona fide charity, and you've gone to the charity, they haven't sent you an email going, hi, yeah, this is, do you know about the poor people star? Yeah, okay, that might be true. Check them out before you give them any money. Charity does begin at home, I understand that. And if you don't feel comfortable doing that, donate food. Donate diapers. Donate women's sanitary. Razors. Soap. Clothes. It's important. And with no judgment, I'm giving this to help people. I don't want to know what their circumstances are. I don't need to know what their circumstances are. They're just people that need help. That's all. And you see something, buy one, get one free. Well, that free one, put it aside, and every couple of weeks you take 10 cans over. Like I said, if every week 500 people gave 4 cans, that's 2,000 cans going out to people across the country. And you can go, well, we're across the country. What's, big deal. For someone that doesn't have a can of food, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. So, think about that. I always also say a prayer. Prayer does work. And with that, I'm going to say good night. I'm going to do a quick fade to black and then back up with my banner to go out on YouTube and Facebook. We're doing it at the same time, so I'm feeding out 2 programs. Actually 3 programs, and now I got to edit. All right. With that, I'm going to say good night, and we'll catch you all later. As I fade to